Hi, it's me. I get real. I had to do that fake smile while I waited for this thing. Um, I thought I set a 15-minute timer, but I don't think I did. Oh, I did. And then I'll check my food. I'm gonna have to fry this food up and then walk because my son's waiting for food. So I have these paperwork things to do for my business, and I am so overwhelmed. I haven't really sat here. Maybe I sat here once since the inspection on Monday. Today is Sunday, and I did not work my other job. I got to talking to this fella today, and I already got in a kind of an argument about body hiatus today. Because they're like, oh, can you send me your full body shot? Like, and if this person sees this, I'm just doing my dating experiment. And I didn't think of it at first, but I just thought about when I gained a lot of weight, like 90 pounds or 100 pounds, when I was like homeless, eating out of food boxes, living in shelters, eating at like semi-soup kitchens. And if they had a salad or a piece of fruit, I would be like, oh my God, I gotta get salad. And of course, they would fill your plate with starchy food, bread rolls and stuff. And I found out I was gluten intolerant and corn intolerant and tapioca intolerant, and that I can't handle meat because meat was being fed this or something, and eggs. I had allergic reaction to apple juice was one of my early ones as a child. I remember Dawn's mom saying something about, oh, you want some apple juice? I know I get sick every time I eat that. That was my one, probably, when did she move? I think she moved in 7th grade. That was one of my associations with food intolerances, was getting a really bad stomachache. I had a raw juice. I think it was a raw fruit juice blend, and I don't know if I had it or didn't have it, but all I know, or some kind of blend. I don't know if it was still or not, because I used to do Concord grape or Welch's grape. Some kind of juice had apple or whatever. I'd get these really bad stomach aches, like, oh my God. And then I would get stomach aches when I didn't have ginger ale every day. I was getting not the Virgils. What's the other one? One of those health food brands. You can get the one with more ginger. It has cane sugar, and you can get the one with less ginger, and at least it used to have pineapple, and I can't remember the brand name. It comes in like a green and white. There's at least 2 different kinds. The Jamaican style. I think they call it ginger beer. Honey and pineapple sweetens the one with less ginger. So I was drinking that every day. I don't think I was drinking the whole thing. I was drinking that, which is really good. I love ginger ale. And I was drinking, before that, I think I was drinking grape juice. I'd make it frozen tube of grape juice. I don't think I really bought the ones in the containers on the shelf. And then I would mix that with mineral water. When I did drink it, I got a bad stomachache. And so all of a sudden, when I was still doing raw, transitioning to raw, all of a sudden I had the grape juice that was, I think it started giving me a stomachache, or something happened, or I changed my diet, or I was doing a raw food, like a pure raw food instead of 99% raw. And I remember one time sticking some jars of grape juice in the freezer, and I remember within the past couple of years finding that in the back of the freezer, like, oh, no one's going to drink this. So I'd been doing raw since I got in the car accident. So at the end of 2014, after 2 months of my chiropractor exclaiming that my body was all like not healing normally, I said I had lost my job like a year later. Like actually almost exactly a year later. Management got rid of other management, and then it became a horrible place. I was well qualified for the job. I was actually overqualified for the job. And then they had something that they didn't like about our manager, and I don't know what it is, and it's not my business, but they had found that we shadowed the same doctor. She had more than one medical degree, and we shadowed for different reasons, and were doing some volunteer work for her, and when I was gone, they got really mad, and so I was laid off pretty quick. I had also, they didn't like, the staff members were all foreign. They replaced her with foreigners. We had some Americans that were so good at the job. They basically quit. So they replaced the people that quit with foreigners. I don't have a problem with that. The problem is, these were foreigners from Eastern Asia, different countries, or what's the other type of Asia? Eastern, from Asia. All of the workers were from Asia. Every one of them. There was a white, yeah, I was gonna say white girl, a white young lady. She was sweet, she was quiet, she was professional, she was nice, she did a great job, in my opinion. She was quiet. That would be the only reason people start picking on. But they picked on her, and I said, F you. Like, no, I didn't say that. I didn't really have that fake cussing thing back then. But I was like, you guys need to leave her alone. These people sit around, not do their work. Me and that little lady would do the work. They'd go on extended coffee breaks when the boss was gone. Even when the boss was there, the boss didn't care. They kissed up. And I started telling them, leave her alone. She didn't do anything to you. Why spend energy? She's a good worker. She's quiet, fine. You know? She's young, fine. Who cares? Mind your business. Take care of the patients and do your work. So they'd always say, oh, I want to leave early. The boss, of course, the boss would be gone. The boss already left early. And oh, here's a stack of work. Will you do this work? Will you do this work? And I was like, yeah. And then they got mad. Why are you leaving so late? Well, because everybody left their work. We were supposed to leave at the same time. Everybody left their work. And when I got laid off, it was also with the other young lady. And I had another person quit. We shared a job. I had all of her work in my folder. Oh my God. She quit and her folder went into my inbox, and she had months of work, and I didn't really have work I didn't have like anything in my box. I didn't have any of my own work in my box because I did my work, but I had everybody else's work. I said, oh yeah, I'll work on it. And so I thought, oh my God, that's going to look really bad when they go through my stuff. And I had already cleaned out my personal stuff because they were doing passive firing. I had already cleaned out, basically it was just a picture of me and Bob from Bob's Red Mill. That was my picture on my mailbox, and then I had the, what did I have? I had the picture, and then I had the, emergency. Someone said that they were scared. One of the old workers. These people before were good. They were really good. Someone mentioned something like, oh, the freakiest thing is if something happens to you guys and we don't know how to access your emergency. Because sometimes that stuff's locked up in the boss's office. We don't have a key, or in the file cabinet. They're like, one of the worst things is if you don't have my emergency contact number. And so I had to I think I had that stuff with the tape on it. I had pulled that out days or some weeks before because they were acting crazy, and 7 people quit around me, and that left 3 of us. And it was really freaky. It was really freaky. It was like, okay, there's like 10 people working here, and now there's 3 of us. Actually, there's days I'd come into work and I'd be the only one there, and I'm like, they would have shut the whole place down. And it was a medical facility, so there was bodily fluid samples stacked up in the box outside. Like, dude, this is like, I'd call the lab, maybe come and get this stuff, go put it outside, like I was trained to do. Take the key, put it outside, and then they'd cancel it. I go back the next morning, the stuff's still sitting in there. Like, oh no, they canceled it. So you're gonna have to tell the students to call their patient back for a lab. Like, sometimes people gotta have 5 vials of blood drawn. Like, no, heck no. And these people were not medical people. I said, these, if you shut the lab, fine. We don't have a technologist right now, so we're not gonna do a wet prep. Like, that's the only thing we're not gonna do. Everything else is like, there's like 2 things that aren't sent out, and those things can be sent out for the same price, maybe cheaper. Like, I was there for 2 years. It's like, so I had I had gotten this kind of argument and I didn't like it this morning. And this person was asking about my smiling. I'm like, wow, I didn't sound very smiley on the phone or by text. And some of it, I was like, oh, that's funny. What the heck is that noise? Hold on. Oh, it's just a bad phone. And I was like, dude, like, I wasn't like, I have the dry sense of humor that's like not even. I heard about the East Coast dry sense of humor, and then I was just goofy in high school and stuff, in junior high, and quiet in elementary school. But I have this somewhat dry sense of humor because there's things that I think are funny, and other people don't get it. So I got used to people like, huh? And then I'm like, I'm just gonna say this, and I want to be like, LOL. But I'm like, some people won't like LOL. I mean, it doesn't matter if I like it or not. I don't personally like it. And when I actually use it, the first time I was really laughing, and I was like, oh my god, I try to hold out for using Google search. I was using other search engines. So if I cave in, you're like, dude, it's become a non-necessity, but it's become a convenience. So I have to do this paperwork, and this person, was telling me something about my offspring, and I started getting like riled up because and my job. And the thing is, I get so overwhelmed with this, besides being away from my ex for about 15 years, I get really riled up with 15 years. And oh god, I get really riled up about like, how do I say it, like, I really don't know how to say it, like, my ex didn't help me. There's a commercial on TV where the daddy has a baby diaper moment with his son. He goes, oh, he makes that funny stinky diaper face, and he's like, oh, I want to miss more of my son. I usually have migraines or something. I don't know, some medication. I don't even know what it was about. I think it was a medication commercial. And I saw this commercial more than once. And before that, I thought, for the past 14 years, oh my god, my ex never changed the kids' diapers or pull-ups one time that I can remember ever. Like, it didn't matter. Like, there was a day that I was sick and puking and had diarrhea, and my kids had a Freudian moment of number 2 being used as paint on the walls in the hallway. It was that had happened twice with my kids, and maybe it happened one that time and the other one another time, since they're that much age difference. They had that Freudian day where you have your different stages of whatever. Look it up, whatever. Like oral fixation, that kind of thing. Poop. I was on the toilet and I was taking turns tallers. I had no one to help, no one to ask. I didn't even have a neighbor to ask me to take the kids. And he came home. The house wasn't a mess, but the thing was, the house was messy. But say I thought he was going to come home sometime after 12 or 1. You'd pick up the kids' toys and kind of do some dishes and make some food. Like as a house mom, like I would do, like, you're like, oh, anticipating someone coming, they don't need to trip over your kids' blocks, right? Or get that stuff out of the walkway. So that day, I spent the whole day, like 6 hours on the toilet. I was so sick, of course, weak, dehydrated, and I had some bleach. I don't like bleach. I was bleaching the heck out of the walls and out of anything that had this mess on it. And he came home and yelled at me forever and told me what a slob I am and how he's leaving and never coming back. And I think that's the same day I got beat up. And he's like, I'm going to move in with my friends. I'm tired of this mess. If you actually learn how to take care of the house, then maybe I'll come back. And could you imagine having probably 3 whole years of raising your babies completely without anybody's help? If someone needs to be carried, I used to at least say, can you sit and watch TV with him in a playpen while I take a 5-minute bathroom break? And within 50 seconds, the kids were in the bathroom with me. He couldn't even say, oh, they wanted you. Like, who cares? Keep them in a playpen. Hold on to them. Take them outside. Walk around the block. I don't care. Like, you never even had 5 minutes. And so it's hard for people to understand that I have teenagers that are possessive and protective. And I'm going to start crying. But imagine going that 20 years from pregnancy all the way up and being the sole support for not only myself, but the other 2, for 3 people. And if there was a truck and your kid was in the road, I would push the kid and die. I don't want to die in front of my kid, but I would risk my life to save them. Someone was drowning, or if they're in a riptide, if there was a bad guy, take me, not the kids. Let them live. And what I have gotten has been to be walked all over by somebody or by society. And I just feel like I'm like, okay, so I gotta go do my work. My kitchen's been waiting for an hour. I cooked the rice for an hour. I didn't make the chicken, and it's in the freezer, so now the chicken is in the oven, so I have to speed that up and put it on the stove. You just get so worn out, and then you deal with these crazy people at work, and then you think you have friends, you try to contact them, they blocked you, they don't talk to you, they moved, they changed their number, people died, don't tell me, my mom's cousin died, nobody told me, missed funerals because nobody told me. I think the last funeral on my mom's side I heard of was 1990 something. It might have been 2000. No, it was 1999. I was pregnant. My mom's dad died, and my grandma called me, and that they were not married. So she called me to say that he had died. I don't even know if she told me the funeral. I didn't go. I should have gone, and then I don't think that I knew anything because I didn't have a way to contact his relatives, and my mom was already dead. And I actually found some people on Facebook like 10 years later, but some of them were really jerks, and I had to block them when I got rid of toxic people. And then I had a family reunion she told me about, and I went there. I think that was the last time I saw my grandma. I gave her a shoulder massage. My cousin was late. It's a family reunion. It's not like late, but she was a late arrival. And she had her, I think she had her 3rd kid or her 2nd kid. Might have only been, I can't remember. I think she only has 2 boys. I think it was only her 2nd kid. Because I was 21. 21, actually. I don't know how old I was. I feel like 98. I feel like I was 21. I don't know how old I was when my kid was born. So I had seen that baby and the first baby and seen grandma. And I think that is the last time. Because after my mom died, I think her cousin Annette was, I didn't know this. Her cousin Annette and my mom were planning a family reunion, and we're scheduling the venue and all that stuff, inviting people. And I didn't know that. She never told me that she was planning that, organizing it. And when she died, Annette they had that family reunion, so that was like the year my mom died or the year after. After that, I never heard of them. When I got on Facebook and found people, I would see this. I joined the family website, and there was two. I did one for my dad's, or my mom's dad, and my mom's mom. Our two Facebook groups, and I had these people be like, "Oh, we're meeting today at 1 for the family reunion, right? At such and such park." They always had like they always had this place at Black Lick Park or something. I didn't like the name of it. And pavilion or something. My mom always used to call pavilions shelter houses, and I used to be like, "This is not a shelter house. It's a pavilion." But then I was in Michigan and close to Canada. I don't know, it sounds more French. But I was like, dude, like, what? What is this? Um, I was literally like, what is this? And um, I said something to both family members. Like, one of them groups was like, "Oh, we have this every year, second Saturday of this month or so." Like, dude, I didn't know that. I live over 2,000 miles away. Could somebody tell me? Like, they're like, "Oh, it's this day." Like, would I, like, would I fly me and my kids to Ohio, show up at some random park and not talk to anybody to see is it still going on? Like, well, I guess we're just spent, over $6,000, kids. Like, I don't know. And they're like, "Oh, we don't do too much. Don't worry. It's not like it was when your mom was putting it. It's kind of casual. Don't worry." And all I was thinking during these years for both sides of my family was, "Oh my God, I'm a single mom. I almost died multiple times in my life. I'm lucky to be alive. I couldn't do the paperwork to have someone take care of my kids if something happened to me." I thought the one thing, if I too poor to do this regularly, at least one time my kids go meet both sides of the family in person, and if something happens to me and some neighbor sticks them on an airplane back east, that when they get off at the airport, that someone has a little bit of remembrance of who these people are. Both sides. My kids were like remember them, and they remember my kid. Like that was like my ultimate, like, oh my God, this is life or death. I didn't want my kids separated in foster care. I was like totally freaked out. So I ended up just um, it got worse and worse, the relationship. I did the series on toxic relationships and getting rid of toxic people, and I didn't know that I had a choice, that I didn't have to hang out with these people, and I had a choice that I didn't have to continue to be abused, and that after being a victim of sexual assault, saying no didn't mean anything to the guy. Yelling no, trying to claw at him, didn't mean anything to a guy. I had a couple of books about domestic violence, and both of these books helped me flee, because one of them, the women ended up in prison for life, and the author or whoever was the interviewer interviewed all these women, and a lot of them, they called the cops. They're being threatened to be killed, had the kids be raped and killed, or whatever, had to cut the kids' heads off in front of them, whatever. Different scenarios. And sometimes, a lot of times, the police, this is like in the 80s, the police would come, pick up the guy, 20 minutes later, he's back at home. "Don't you ever do that again, or I will. You won't even make a phone call." Like, some of them, the woman put her hand up, and the guy got a scratch, or got a bruise. No! I just imagine someone coming at you. No! You put your hand up, and they're like coming towards you, and or your fingernail catches them. The police pressed charges on the women, saying that they abused the guy because they didn't have any marks or visible marks. Doesn't matter if they were assaulted. You hear on the news all those rape kits that are all moldy in some warehouses all over the country. like if you're assaulted, or it's hard when you're assaulted by your husband if you had voluntary or involuntary, because it's not like, oh, the stranger has DNA on me or inside my body. And a lot of stories of women were like, the police said, he's your husband, he can do what you want. There's no crime here, people, ma'am. There's no crime here. And some of these people were kidnapped, tied down, assaulted. They threatened to assault the kids. Guys fall asleep with a gun on their bed in a remote cabin because they drove them away from town so that they couldn't call the police, so they couldn't scream for help, so they couldn't run out the street and stop a car. And sometimes the men would fall asleep. Sometimes the woman did shoot the guy or attempt to cut them or something. The next book, I think I still have. I might have both of them. I thought I gave them away. I don't know where they are. The next book I had is it's still old, but it's a little more modern. And it was different types of relationships. Spouse, boyfriends, homosexual relationships. It was different types of relationships. Maybe that happened after. This one was more modern. It told how the women, I don't think there was any men at that time in that book, because now, like, in my town, the Women's Crisis Center has changed to, I don't know, Portland Crisis Center. I should probably find that out. I probably still have it in my phone as Women's Crisis Center, because that's where I remember, because I've called it before, because I was fleeing abuse, and it was scary to be alone, and you have no friends, you have no relatives, you have no neighbors, no one will believe you, you're going to church, nobody cares, they say you're the problem, and you got weapons and fists and people kicking you, and they say it's your fault that somebody went berserk and beat the crap out of you. And you try to flee, and you start wandering around the streets like a junkie or something, just wandering aimlessly, trying to get some relief. And then it becomes, I'm going to sit on this curb until I starve to death, or start rummaging through dumpsters to the bottom of my shoes fall off. Or I'm going to go back to the house that has heat and a bed and a shower and a toilet, and my kids are there. So that's what it becomes, in the city and the country, in the rural area and the remote area. I've lived in all spaces of abusive relationship. I've wandered, and I've left so many times alone. I try to leave with a child, and I have a picture of me and my daughter bundled up, and I was like, I'm out of here. And it was dark, and there was West Virginia. I was in the rural road where coal trucks go day and night, and I was like, we're gonna get hit by a freaking truck. I went to the end of the driveway. It was pitch black, and in West Virginia the roads are cut through rock. So you're this far from the rock, like you can't walk through a path. You maybe could follow a creek or something, but you end up in a remote area. I had nowhere to go. I would have walked 5 hours to the next city, which I actually got a flash flood in that city, and I spent like an hour with a baby, and nobody would answer the door, so we got our car stuck in a flash flood. It sucked. But I said I gotta go, and it was my house I left. It's like, I gotta go back to my house. I always left my property. I had to go back. And how the children inside all the rain, no matter how crappy the house was or how crappy the tent was. And it's like work. You're like, well, I'm going to bow down and go back until you get relief, until God, I feel God opens more doors. This is how I feel. I'm going to do this and go get the kids food. I feel God opens more doors, and He is this is how I feel. You got two people. One lady used to pray in the church women's Bible study. She said, oh, dear God, please send laborers to the sick person, or this person who's trying to get a job, or this person trying to buy a house, or this person's kid is in the hospital, or whatever. Their car broke down, whatever. They got a splinter, whatever. Splinters can be serious, especially if someone with diabetes, immune deficiency. Anyways, he's like saying, please, I lift this family up to you, Lord. Please send laborers to help these folks, whether they're near or far. And I know the thing about that church is those laborers. Not a lot of people would jump and be like, I'll be one of those laborers. You know, I tried. I was like running myself ragged, living out of a shelter. After having lived in a car and living in a tent, I was like running myself ragged trying to help these fools. But I like remember her. This is how I feel during some prayer meditation. God, I asked for help in this situation, or I asked for this job, or I asked for a pay raise, or this or that, or this or that. And you feel like God, it's kind of like the opposite of the joke with the guy, why did you send someone to save my life? Well, we sent 3 folks to save your life, and you said, no, I don't need your help, God will help me. And then he died and went to heaven and said, God, why? It's like opposite of that. It's like God tells this entity, this person, this vessel, this family, this job, this supervisor, this pastor to help this person. And these people turn from God like Jonah and the big fish and say, oh, heck no. So this person falls. Like they crash and burn. They become homeless because they were $15 short on rent. That happens. People are $15 short on rent. They become, their baby died or something. I don't know. Because they couldn't read and they needed somebody. This happened to me once. I needed somebody to fill out some paperwork to get some money to go to school. And nobody would fill the paperwork out. So what happened? I couldn't get the money. And so now I'm $400,000 in debt, which reminds me I have to do my thing for work. Shoot, I totally forgot about that. I wanted to do this. I really gotta do this. I'm gonna go get the food before it burns. But a lot of times we're praying meditation, you're like, God, I know this is in your timing. And when you know it's in your timing, and these people don't help, they turn your back to you, you don't want those people to help. Unless God says, knock, knock, hey, tap on the shoulder, go back, like Jonah. So what I do is just say, God, I know that, I'm trying to think of Bible story. The timing didn't work with this one. It's kind of like Sarah and Abraham. They kept trying to have a baby, and it all got weird. Until God finally shut them up and stopped having sex with the maid and all that stuff. Finally, they tried. They heard the promise of God, it didn't happen yet. So you feel like all their things are out of your control, but you want to make it in your control. And then finally gets to a point where God's like, okay, you guys are already past menopause. Barely, he has erectile dysfunction probably. And they finally had this miracle baby, and they had to shut this dude up somehow, take away his voice. The prophet in the temple. And so I had to say, oh my God, we tried this, we tried that, we tried this. Ruth and Naomi, we tried this, we tried this, we tried this. All they needed was a man to remarry with Ruth. One man. And that saved everything up into the Savior. Food time for the kids. I gotta do this paperwork, and I just realized I have a bunch of other stuff to do. Bye.